Tonight, a spate of house and car break-ins across Port Lincoln and how extreme heat over the summer is devastating our state's bee population.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Casey Treelaw begins now.
Good evening. Port Lincoln Police were today hunting several thieves in response to a string of break-ins over the weekend. Several houses and cars were targeted, with valuables and money stolen from the properties. Nathan Regter has more.
Here in Port Lincoln, 3 houses and 2 cars were the target for thieves on the weekend. Glidden Street, Galway Terrace and Hill Place, the target areas of the crime spree.
Port Lincoln Police are investigating 3 break-ins that occurred this month between the 1st and the 2nd of March.
Many coming home Friday evening to find their homes ransacked with laptops, phones, radios and cash missing. One occupant even scaring an intruder away after finding them trying to break in.
An occupant of a home chased 2 offenders who were attempting to jimmy an upstairs window. The victim later discovered their unlocked vehicles had been entered and a UHF radio had been stolen.
Another property had a screen door damaged with some cosmetics stolen from a garden table. The number of thieves involved are still unknown.
Police are recommending that people take care with their property and don't put themselves in a position where they become a target of thieves or break-ins.
Police say the suspects are described as about 183 centimetres tall, wearing a light grey hooded jumper, the other in a darker hoodie. Now, police are reminding all residents to lock all house and car doors and to consider installing alarms. But in the meantime, SAPOL are encouraging anyone with information to come forward and to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Slow down and be safe. That's the message from South Australian Police as they launch a 4-day campaign targeting speeding drivers. Operation Safe Speed is statewide and aims to reduce casualties and fatalities on our roads. The strategy comes amid growing concern and frustration about the mounting road toll in 2019.
If you reduce your average travel speed by 5 km per hour on a rural road, you reduce the risk of casualty crash by 30%.
The state's road toll is currently at 19, 9 more than at the same time last year. And police say 6 of those fatalities on South Australian roads found speed to be a contributing factor. Broken Hill will stay on water restrictions despite the Wentworth pipeline being turned on last week. Essential Water says the project is still in its testing phase, with water expected to be delivered to the city in April.
The pipeline's turned on, but the city's water restrictions are not turned off. Broken Hill was put on to level 1 water restrictions on the 1st of December last year. The decision made due to no significant inflows to the Darling River or local water catchment areas.
You only have to look at the ovals in Broken Hill, particularly probably the Norm Fox Oval, to understand how important water is to Broken Hill.
Local consumption of treated water was also above 16 megalitres for 3 consecutive days. Mr Kennedy believes the water restrictions were nothing more than a PR move designed to convince locals the Wentworth pipeline is the city's water saviour.
It is just to let people know in Broken Hill that, look, this is what you would have had to look forward to if we hadn't have got this pipe up and running.
So if the pipeline is now turned on, why are locals still having to water their gardens at certain times of the day? In a statement, Essential Water said the pipeline is currently in its performance testing phase and is expected to be supplying water to the city in April. The provider said the dry conditions are an issue affecting the community and that it'd be grateful if locals embrace the restrictions during the ongoing drought and warmer months. Essential Water says the restrictions will continue to be reviewed. Once up and running, the Wentworth pipeline will deliver 37 megalitres of raw water to Broken Hill every day. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Conservative Senate candidate Ricky Lambert is calling for greater federal investment in South Australia's highways. Mr Lambert, who is currently touring the Spencer Gulf region, is calling for lane duplication of the Augusta Highway. He says our regional roads have become dangerous.
The Augusta Highway is just one of a number of terrible highways in this region and all over the state, and South Australia gets neglected when it comes to federal road funding.
Mr Lambert will also be meeting with political donors in Port Lincoln later this week, where he plans to discuss the state's soaring energy prices. Schools across the region could soon be paid a visit from drug detection dogs, with the state government today signing off on new protocols for the use of the specialised canines. The government says it's about protecting children, but others argue it's overkill.
Hunting for the scent of something sinister, we've seen the use of drug sniffer dogs in airports and music festivals, but soon they may too have a presence in the schoolyard.
Our schools need to be safe places. They need to be places where drugs are not acceptable.
I think it's a good idea to stop the drugs coming around because it's getting bad lately, isn't it?
New protocols will allow principals in South Australian secondary schools to streamline requests for the police dogs if they feel illicit substances may be in the yard.
If people are thinking that they can bring drugs to school to sell to their mates, then they've got another thing coming.
The presence of the canines is as much about drug education as it is about deterrence. Students will have no forewarning when an operation will occur. Education Minister John Gardner also putting regional areas on notice.
Whether it's 5 times a year or 10 times a year, there'll be visits from dogs in metropolitan schools as well as in the country.
The new protocols are now available, meaning principals can engage with the Education Department and police at any time. The program was pushed by the Liberals before the election, and while it has some supporters, others believe the measure has gone too far.
I think it's really excessive. I think you should be educating the children, not suppressing them.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, blue-ringed octopus sightings at Port Lincoln beaches and why our state's bee population is in danger from extreme heat. There's been renewed warnings for Port Lincoln beachgoers after increased sightings of the deadly blue-ringed octopus have been spotted off local waters. The City Council urging the public to remain vigilant around the foreshore.
What better place to escape the heat than the local beach? But be warned, these waters are home to one of the most dangerous sea creatures on the planet.
It can be very painful. You do have to get to the hospital straight away. It can be a life-threatening situation.
Increased sightings of the notorious blue-ringed octopus sparking concerns for safety along our beaches. Authorities say if you do come across one, you should avoid the area and notify people nearby.
They're mostly found around our shoreline here, similar to this out here in Port Lincoln, in our rocky reefs, and could be around seagrass meadows.
The octopus is generally about 15 centimetres long and will be a blue or light brown colour. Authorities say looking for blue rings on the animal isn't helpful.
It's not until they're agitated or harassed that they actually show the blue rings.
If you do get bitten, you should use a bandage or piece of clothing to immobilise the area. Without immediate action, the venom can cause paralysis, blindness and possibly death within minutes.
Similar to a snake bite, mobilising it that way, and then, as I said, call an ambulance or just get to a hospital as soon as possible.
When agitated, the octopus can release venom into the surrounding water.
And they can protect themselves by wearing shoes in the rocky shoreline, wearing gloves if they're diving, and just not touching areas under rocks and things like that as well.
Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The state's hottest summer on record has decimated South Australian bee populations, with the industry being stung by extreme heat, with the drought-like conditions anticipated to impact pollination in the coming winter and spring.
The blight of our state's bee. It's been a not-so-sweet start to autumn for our mid-north beekeepers.
They're out of sequence, and that has been the effect for beekeepers. Things out of sequence.
This year's heatwave has had an adverse effect on flight bees. Martin Gilbert and his wife Lorraine believe they have lost 15 to 20% of their foragers.
Dwindled in numbers because of the heat. They haven't been able to get out. And we've had hot nights.
Fortunately, the hives have escaped the heat, travelling 300 kilometres south on the back of a truck to the Fleurieu Peninsula.
We were able to save ours. No matter how hot it got, we moved ours.
The cooler southern coastal climate ensures the safety of the colony during hot nights. Newer family businesses have been dealt even bigger blows from this year's weather, with a number of keepers inexperienced in handling drought conditions.
Other beekeepers have certainly lost big numbers or are very worried that their hives have been weakened off and maybe not get through winter.
The industry is also being affected by something called green drought, a lack of pollen and flowering flora which may start impacting the price of honey. The fallout effect is set to impact almond pollination in late winter and early spring. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Whyalla High School was paid tribute to a former student who was tragically killed in a road accident a year ago this week. The town has come together for the inaugural Caleb Scott Memorial Day.
A sports carnival where the overall result is insignificant. The Caleb Scott Memorial Day was about spirit, pride and remembering a talented individual.
We asked school community of certain things that they said to best represent him. It was energy, enthusiastic, cheekiness.
The 14-year-old died last year when a truck hit him while bike riding near Samaritan College. His footy club North Whyalla and baseball club Roadrunners each played a Whyalla High team. Teachers took part in a longest kick competition, while there was also tug of war and sprinting competitions. Mr. Usher praising staff and students for their upbeat mood.
The players definitely bought into the day in terms of about what it was about, so encapsulating that spirit.
Whyalla High won both the baseball and footy. The Scott family attended, presenting trophies and individual medals. Footballer Hannah Ewings and baseballer Hannah Kitano were awarded best on ground medals, each aware of the day's significance.
Very close-hearted to his friends. He's just one of those people that you keep close to your heart.
It was a way to represent Caleb and everything that he did.
John Hunt, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. A boxing heavyweight takes to the ring at a Broken Hill fight night, and we'll have the weather details with Britt. Welcome back. The Broken Hill Police Citizens Youth Club held a boxing exhibition night on Saturday to promote its local program. The event headlined by heavyweight fighter Solomon Hamono taking to the ring.
A knockout night of boxing entertainment.
We've managed to put on a fantastic fight night with some exhibition fights.
The Broken Hill PCYC Hall was transformed into a makeshift boxing arena on the weekend, complete with a full-size ring and announcer. It was all for showcasing boxing classes held at the centre.
Obviously it's not a contact thing, it's all about keeping the kids fit, disciplined and having a good time.
The PCYC also runs the Fit for Life program.
A boxing program before school where the kids can come in, pick them up, we bring them to the club, we do some exercise, we feed them, they can have showers and get ready for school, and then we take them off to school.
The local coach excited to see students getting involved.
Teach them, mate. Maybe all about respect and honour, respect themselves. We respect themselves, expect other people too, see, things I learn.
The night was capped off with Daniel sparring against former NRL player turned boxer Solomon Hamano. While not trying to knock each other out, the pair exchanged a fair few shots. One punch in the third knocked down the local coach, but he got back to his feet soon after. The local club now hoping to host more fight nights.
We've got some really nice talent in this town, and I'm sure in the neighbouring towns as well, so watch this space.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Now to take a look at the local sport happening around the region. And Garth Burley is in Port Augusta to dive into all the results. Now Garth, one side dominated the top of the table clash in the local basketball.
Yes, Casey, well, the Wildcats have extended their run at the top after making light work of the second-placed Eagles. The Wildcats closing out the match with 5 unanswered goals to win by 23 points. In the other game, a close encounter between Titans and Cobras saw the Titans win by 6 points. The Wildcats have secured their place in the Whyalla Grand Final after an 8-point win over the Roos, while the Titans were too good for the Braves. The semi-finals have kicked off in Port Lincoln, the Sharks proving too strong in their top-of-the-table clash against Peckers Yellow, and the season is over for Rangers Blue after they were defeated in the elimination match against Waybacks. In Port Pirie, the Ducks survived a scare against bottom-of-the-table Globetrotters, scraping by with a win by a single point, and Pacers defeated Tomcats by 5 points. Staying in Pirie for baseball, and only one game was played after a number of matches were cancelled due to the hot conditions. Tigers registered 4 runs in their second dig to set up a 2-run win against the Panthers. In Whyalla softball, Roadies and Eagles were both victorious, and in the seniors baseball, Roadies pitcher Tristan Wheeler took a hat-trick to set up the win for his side. Topspins have continued their unbeaten start in the Broken Hill tennis season with a victory over volleys. Serves and forehands both recorded wins, while backhands also had a 3-1 victory over smashers. So plenty of teams starting to hit their straps in finals. And remember, if you have local sports results that you'd like featured here on 7 Spencer Golf News, email us at localsport@sea.com.au. Casey?
Thanks, Garth. And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Casey. We've seen showers over much of the region today. Port Augusta with a top of 29 degrees, Whyalla 27, Port Lincoln 25, Broken Hill 37, Port Pirie 29 and Adelaide 25 degrees. Today's wet weather caused by a trough over the Gulf with a cold front moving through this evening. Tomorrow a high will develop to the south of the Bight. On the waters, southeasterly winds tending southwesterly at 15 to 20 knots, swells to 2.5 metres. And sunrise is due at 7:10 in the morning with sunset at 7:52 p.m. We've got lower maximums coming our way tomorrow with fine and partly cloudy conditions. A mild 23 degrees for Port Augusta, Whyalla 22, Port Lincoln 29, Coffin Bay 18, Woodner 24, Corn 23, Broken Hill 24, Port Pirie 23, Clare 19, Cleve 20 and Kadina 22. But temperatures will slowly creep up as we head into the weekend. Port Lincoln back up to 26 degrees on Friday and Saturday, Cleve heading into the late 20s, Woodner expecting to hit 32 degrees by Friday. Fine conditions ahead for Whyalla, 27 on Thursday, 30 on Friday. Port Augusta with temperatures heading back into the 30s to end the week. Kadina 25 on Thursday. Port Pirie a top of 28 on Thursday, 32 on Friday. Temperatures jumping back up for Clare as well. Broken Hill sunny and 26 on Thursday and then back up into the 30s. So Casey, cooler conditions tomorrow but will warm back up again into the weekend.
Thanks for that, Britt. And that's the local news this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.